There is a magical operation of maximum importance. The initiation of a new aeon. When it becomes necessary to utter a word, the whole planet must be bathed in blood.
Ah, yes. Welcome to Deadhaus Whispers.
Greetings, everyone. Calypso here, and welcome to another episode of Deadhaus Whispers, where we talk everything Deadhaus Sonata related, be it books, movies, games, television, etc., etc. And as always, I am joined by my usual host, Faceless Mike.
Greetings, hello, and welcome.
I hope everyone is doing well today. Mike, how are you doing?
Tired, but we're here. We're getting to the end of another week, so we're all good.
Yes. And as per usual in the beginning of all these things, because this is a Deadhaus Sonata stream, you can check everything Deadhaus Sonata related at deadhaussonata.com. That's dead, Haus, sonata.com, like Bauhaus, only it's Deadhaus. And all the
I always
other
love
social
that. I always love that description because it's the best way to get a lot of people going. Like Deadhaus,
Oh, yeah.
no, not like Bauhaus.
Yeah, like Bauhaus. Yeah, like the goth 80s band. Which even then it might be a little old of a reference, I suppose. But
We'll sit here
I mean,
and pretend we're both not just
yeah,
secret little goths in the background.
exactly. And today's topic of interest is guilds, the guilds of Deadhaus, or whatever it might end up being, and how that's gonna roll out and work, and the speculations on that, and all the jazz. If Mike is so
Checkmate.
faceless, then why can I see his face right now?
Because Dennis asked very politely and got me to agree to take off a mask. That is why. But yeah, in the discussion of guilds, I wanted to bring this up because this has been mentioned. Hey, Tem. Hey, Punk. Let's see. Oh, we've got loads of people popping up in the chat.
Hey, everybody.
Twitch is starting to pop off.
Nice.
Greetings and welcome. Deadhaus will be primarily narrative driven, but a lot of the thing that gets left behind in the background is that it's also going to be multiplayer, like proper multiplayer, like akin to Warframe, Destiny, these type of games. There will be a good focus on that. And what comes with multiplayer is guilds, clans. I'm pushing for calling them mausoleums because, you know.
Mausoleums is a pretty good name. I like that.
We need to go with something like that. And I just wanted to know how they would work, what people like, what people don't like, what we'd like to see, what we wouldn't like to see. And basically, if we come up with good ideas in the stream, guys, let me know, and we'll send the VOD to Dennis.
Yeah. I guess, well, being on the topic of guilds, this could actually be a good flow through into the Discord, because the Discord has different options for like Team Banshee if you want to talk in that chat, Team Vampire, Team Ghoul, etc., for each of the classes. And this could be perfect in organizing your guild of vampires or banshees if you want to be purely specific with that class, or as well as, branching off to have your basic other guilds of like a fighter and a wizard and yada 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 in other games.
So there should be a guild house. Yes.
Yeah, guild house. Yes. Age 11 guild house.
What happens when you group of undead or a dead together? Mausoleum.
So should there be a guild? Oh yes, should there be a guild house? I mean, sure, as a joke, maybe, or at least that would be. I'm sure someone will mod it in eventually.
I see this going a strange direction though, because unlike a lot of games that are available at the moment, this will be 6-player.
Yes.
So team makeup will be different. Anyone that's used to playing MMOs will probably have a slightly closer feel to how this vibe goes, because the standard MMO party's 5. So you're getting 1 extra. But a lot of people, they might be familiar with only like 3 or 4. So like guild makeup for group makeup for dungeon runs, as Tim mentioned here, dungeon runs or like raids or whatever that'll come down the line. That makeup will be really interesting and different.
City of Heroes was amazing. I did play a little bit of it, and
Yep.
I watched a friend play a little bit of City of Heroes. Very, and branching off, I guess, for a quick second. City of Heroes was ahead of its time, and it came out at the wrong time. But if it came out like literally, and this is the weird thing about the gaming industry, if it came out like a year or two after its initial release, then it would have been right there in the middle of things when all that stuff was just blowing up. And anyway,
I believe
um,
City of Heroes fell victim to what you're after saying about being ahead of its time. A lot of these games that when we had that boom of MMOs where like everything was an MMO,
yeah.
one of the flaws was it could only be PC. Now that had a fantastic market, but I believe if that had happened now, where you could have these games on PC and console with crossplay, they would have been
Mhm.
far more successful.
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. Do you remember throwing it back a little further just for a second? Do you remember the game Mag?
That
It was
sounds
for it was
familiar.
for PS3. It was for PS3. It was a massively multiplayer online like launch title for PlayStation 3 called Mag, and there was an unprecedented number of players of like 60 people on one server, and each
Yes,
team
yes,
like
I
there was
remember
specifically
this.
a blue team of like 30 players and a red team of 30 players, and if you wanted to like shill out the money or host your own server, or occasionally they would do servers of like 180 people on
Very
the PlayStation 3,
Counter-Strikey,
very
wasn't
counter
it?
strikey, but it was just a military shooter with like just basically team deathmatch, team red, team blue. But the player numbers were insane for back in the day. Um, and that I feel if that came out, today with the crossplay and everything like that, it would have been a huge thing. But anyways,
Yeah.
so Dead House, I think you're right in that it has kind of a one up in that there is 6 players for guilds, but if we're it's all on a single server, you could expand that number into possibly a huge number if everybody joins, this guild of the guild of whatever guild it is. Um, and I think the player variety in that, obviously there will be singled out, a guild purely of liches and a guild purely of vampires and everything. But I think the player builds with having a variety of teammates on a huge possible guild number is pretty like the variety is there, is what I'm trying to say. The
Oh,
variety is there.
definitely. I think it'll be really interesting. So we've got two topics that we want to discuss right today. One is about how we'd like to see guilds done, and the other one is about how these classes represent in the guild. So we'll just quickly mention that. So we've got our 7 classes. We've got our Banshee, Ghoul, Lich, Revenant, Vampire, Wight, and Wraith. How will we figure and factor these in, not just in guilds, but in making up parties as the traditional trinary of tank, DPS, and healer? I
Yeah.
don't think these categories will apply now because I
Yeah,
think that
definitely.
this is going to be going in a slightly different direction, but you will still have people falling into those type of roles because we're so conditioned with it. You will get that type of an idea going. Okay, so
Mhm.
like Revenant tank, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, like lich mage, vampire DPS. But I think the way with how the classes are structured within Deadhouse and how they yes, they fall under a certain archetype of a class. Revenant tank example. But the fact that you can vary it up and go for a magical all revenant sort of build, despite it being heavy in the physical, just with how the bars and stuff are set, is the uh, differing factor here,
Yeah.
because you can have just a mage vampire if you wanted. You could do a tank, possibly a tank lich build rather than like the typical wizard build, even though it wouldn't be like the strongest just because of the way the class is configured, but it's still a possibility. So just once again, variety is the spice of life, and it will be variety is the spice of life in a game about the undead. Is is the thing that's really going to change all this up for these guilds. Yes, like you said, there will be the classic tank, DPS, healer, magic, whatever builds and stuff for this thing, and it'll all just kind of mesh together to where maybe obviously you could probably respec and pick out your hand, because the way that this also ties into the tarot system, and that you can spec your build rather, you're not locked to one thing. That's the great thing. You're not locked down because you can do a
I
build.
definitely see a lot of crossover with that. Like as you just mentioned, like if you imagine the wizard as like the we won't call them a wizard. We'll call it like casting DPS or distanced
Yeah.
DPS rather than up close and all. I do think that most of these classes can fall into multiples. So, like, if we just quickly run through them, Banshee, definitely damage dealer, definitely also a support.
Yeah.
Definitely distance, but I also see up close because, like, if we listen to the radio plays of Alaric, quite dangerous up close. You've got Ghoul. Ghoul is definitely tanky, is also very definitely DPSy, so I could see it going that way. We've got
Yeah.
Lich, definitely healer, but also definitely serious DPS. And there's probably a few other surprises we don't know, like crowd control, things like that. Maybe
Yeah.
same for the Banshee. You've got Revenant. I'd say Revenant will surprise us with not just being like damage dealing, tanky straight up front, but also like even distance. We don't know the full extent of their powers. Vampire, literally jack of all, could be any
Hmm.
direction. A
Yeah.
white, literally build a class, so like you can build and spec into whatever you want. And then the wraith, you've got the idea that we're thinking is that from the radio plays and all is probably assassin, so you've got
Yeah.
serious damage, but I could see spell casting and AoE and distance damaging there,
Hmm.
so you never know. And if you think about it in the reverse, right, so in some games that where you heal the undead, it damages them.
Yeah.
Maybe with a wraith, because it can inflict this type of suffering, that maybe you can use that to heal undead, like to actually rejuvenate them. So a wraith could also possibly be the undead version of a healer. We don't know.
Yeah. That's possibly true.
And then what Tem
Or
said here, it would be hella cool if you could create guild dungeons and have other people try it. Obviously, possibility for abuse, of course. So there should probably be several restrictions. I think Dennis has brought up something about this in the past, about creating your own levels. I do think
yeah,
that a
I
group
do
of
think
people
that's
could
going
do
to be
so
a
too.
thing. Yeah, I definitely think Nicole, this ties into the community. This ties into the community creation aspect that's later on down the line. Yeah, I saw that too. Variety is the salt of death. That's a great one. This ties into the community driven aspect of not just the writing, but also I'm pretty sure there's going to be a level editor and a level builder tool. Like, why not?
Of
It's in a
course.
bunch of games now. Same thing with, I mean, they're using Unity, which is like when you're, if you ever decide to jump into Unity and like learn it and like watch the tutorials or whatever, they literally have a section on purely modding and how to
Hmm.
mod a game. So they encourage the modding and building and stuff like that
Oh,
for
and we've
Unity.
seen Dennis talk about this a lot, that they want to create tools to be allow the general public to do it. So you don't even
Yeah,
need specific skills to use Unity. The
exactly.
tool set will be there to allow anyone to
Yeah.
be able to do this.
So it's definitely going to be a
Tem,
thing.
long-standing goal, melee lich tank. I don't care if it takes me years and super obscure gear Cursidus Huracan. I will tank on a lich.
Yeah.
Challenge set, sir. Challenge
Yeah.
set.
One might be able to tank on a Wraith if you can utilize a sort of dodge. If you can utilize a sort of dodge immaterial build at where you try and avoid damage instead of mitigate it like a proper tank would.
True.
Also, yes.
Again,
Yeah.
these are all viable options that I could see being done. And greetings, Uru.
I saw
Uh,
another one. I think Tem said free respec or riot. In a lot of games, you have to pay for pay with in-game in whatever the in-game currency is or something to like
I'm
get a
fairly
magical potion that respecs your character.
I'm
That's
fairly certain now. I'm not 100% on this. I'll need to go and check this, but I'm fairly certain that was mentioned, that you could
yeah.
respec your tarot cards
Mhm.
at will. Maybe you might have to do it at a specific place, and maybe it might like cost in-game currency, not platinum or anything, not like premium currency, but like gold or whatever. The in-game thing is. It
Well,
might cost 100 gold a time or whatever. But
this
I do believe that was mentioned.
yeah, this actually makes me think of a mechanic that was in Blood Omen. that could be in Deadhaus, and I would argue that I think they should roll with this instead of paying to respec your tarot cards. They do the Blood Omen thing where you just had constant drops of the exact same thing, and it just
Yes.
increased your inventory on it. So there was there's a spell in, or rather, a literal card in Blood Omen 1 where you draw it and you use it, and it summons like a random spirit of death,
Yes.
and it kills any enemy in a random way, no matter, like, a bunch of different ways, acid, exploding, whatever. And you can just keep picking it up because it's an item drop, right? So I would
Hmm.
think that, because tarot cards are essentially item drops with specific things, just have them be random drops throughout the game. So instead of having to respec, your blood gout spell in a Deadhaus, you just pick up another blood gout card that's, maybe have like a starting out with like a little bit of a stat difference or bonus or whatever. But you still have it's a
I
new
think,
fresh card that
yeah,
you can spec. Kind of like how Gwent works
yeah, in
in
The
like
Witcher.
in The Witcher. Like, you just keep there's a bunch of different cards, it's all the same card. You
I
can just
don't think,
pick
as they're
it.
saying there in the chat, I don't think it'll cost currency. Like, it's not going to be something that like impedes you doing it on how many times you do it. I think it's more of just as a story or lore perspective where like you'll have to go to a certain place and maybe it'll cost you half your health pool, which you'll regenerate in like a minute.
Mhm.
It won't be anything that's actually hindering you from being creative. It'll just be something for lore purposes. Like if you have to go to a particular creature, maybe it costs you some of your essence or some of your magic or something, and you respec it and do that. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I'm fairly certain you will be able to respec almost on the fly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
not
that
during
too.
combat, obviously, but it will be
Mhm.
something that can be done frequently. And I'm fairly certain I've heard that. I can't remember what it was, but I remember you being able to re-spend your points. So you could, like Dennis had mentioned, so if you had a tarot card and you'd selected certain skills, you decided this isn't working for me, you can kind of like blanket and re-spend them. Because
Mhm.
he said, I remember he mentioned that there was games that he'd played that did that, and he said that was the best way to go because it encouraged people to experiment, and that way you weren't shy and like, oh, I'll just spend these here and this one, and then you're like, oh crap, that was a bad decision. Okay, take them back.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think maybe, yeah, that's the other good thing, like, just don't lock it. Don't lock
Yeah,
you have one solid tarot card with all these other skills attached to it, and you can unlock this or unlock that. But if you don't like it, you can just unequip that little debuff or buff and switch to
yeah.
something else. If you have the little tree thing, I know in one of the Deus Ex games, you can actively turn on and off abilities that you don't want to use, or to use one extra ability, you have to disable another one to be able to use two more special
Mhm,
abilities or something. So you're not locked out of anything. You just turn on and off different abilities in like one of the recent Deus Ex games.
mhm.
But yeah, so that could be an option too. You just turn on and
I
off
could
abilities
see
or
I
skills.
could see that going, only instead of turning them on and off, it'll literally be the cards in your hand because
Yeah.
each class
Yeah.
will have a certain tarot hand that they can use. So it'll be a case of going out and swapping cards out of your hand and putting a new one in that's done. And I'm curious to see how that's going to affect how guilds are made up. So
Yeah.
guilds are going to come in a few flavors. The first one is definitely going to be social. So anyone wants to hang out, game together, and all like that. The next bit comes the utilitarian ones, the people that are trying to dungeon raid, like, do like content and push and will recruit based on skill and ability, which again falls into what we were discussing with the classes of who does what and how.
Mhm.
That's what I'm really excited to see because we know the first one out the gate is definitely the vampire.
Yeah.
And because that's the master of all, I think you'll see people get very, very creative with how they will be using their vampire or utilizing their vampire.
Big, big giant white coming up to you with a handful of cards. Ever hear of a tarot reading? Well, I'm here to give you a tarot reading. Oh, that's good.
A terror
um,
beating.
yeah, I think like, well, let's just use vampire for example, because it is the jack of all trades. You will definitely see, your physical vampire, your magic vampire, your essential vampire as like a guild build, but then this is the tricky part. It's kind of impossible to really nail everything down because of how open the tarot system is, but I think whoa, where'd the page go? I think with your classes, if there's definitely going to be a whole raiding party of ghouls, or
I'll be
you know
shocked if that doesn't happen, and
yeah,
they're
there's
going to wipe on the first ball.
yep, there's definitely going to be the revenant ghoul team up with like a fastball special or something, which I would love to see. Like
Excellent.
yeah, like, and I think there's I personally can't nail down a where these rank, or what, how all of these will sort of work out, just because of just how the systems are, which is a great open-ended system. um Unleash the White. Unleash the White. Six of them
I just,
has
I
go in
just,
the dungeon.
I don't know if Tim gets even the joke he made. The Unleash the Whites. Has anyone ever seen Clive Barker's Nightbreed?
I have not seen it. It's on my list, but I have not seen Nightbreed.
So it's pretty much Deadhouse type scenario where you've got a city of these monsters that live underground. They're being attacked. Yada yada. I won't bore you with the story because it's very long and convoluted, but it's fantastic. You should read the book Cabal or go
Hmm.
out and watch Nightbreed. But anyway, there's a part in that where they're under attack and they have the really nasty, messed up monsters locked away. These are called the Berserkers,
Hmm.
basically the whites, and it's literally the release the Berserkers, just let them out. And it's literally what I imagine there about unleash the whites. The cage is open, and these big monstrosities just pound out in an aggressive fashion because they know, okay, it's now or never.
Hmm. um well, I mean, like, what would you like specify as a guild? Like, if we throw it back to like the WoW days, were you part were you part of a guild? And if so, what guild was it like?
Oh, I ran a guild.
Oh, all right.
I
You ran a
ran
guild.
a guild. I ran a guild called the Celtic Horde for the better
Oh,
part of a
that's
decade.
awesome.
For the better part of a decade, and we had a lot of people. It was primarily a social guild, and we
Hmm.
had a lot of people. It was just fun. There was no restrictions as long as you knew anyone or were friendly. We were quite open to taking in strays, and within that, we had people who just wanted to be social and play the game and whatnot. But we did have a dedicated group that wanted to raid, and we did raid. And there, it basically came down to using the dungeons for training so that people could go and do the actual raids, where they had never got as far as being able to successfully do the 40-man raids, Tim, but we'd done like the 20-man ones. I remember the last ones we done was Ice Crown because I started to tap out in Cataclysm, buddy. And the Cataclysms, that's another story. That's another argument for another time. But yeah, what I could see them happening is at the beginning, it will be social. Because I can already tell you right now, just from the people we know in the Deadhouse Discord, there's going to be a minimum of 5 guilds to begin with, all
Hmm.
social, and that will encompass most of the members of the Discord.
Mm.
That's before you start taking in the wider community.
Yeah, yeah.
What about you?
Me, I did one guild raid in WoW back when Lich King released, and and it was really funny. It was a solo guy. It was one guy running his own like solo guild. It was just him,
Hmm.
and it was literally called like Death Tank or something hilarious. And he was the highest level. He had just like respec his whole character to unlock a Death Knight character as part of the Lich King expansion. And he was a big tanky berserker build. And it was me. I was a cleric. It was me, the cleric. We had one
Didn't
wizard.
pick you as a cleric. That's really
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, I was the cleric. I am Pardew. I am a holy man. Um, and I was the cleric character, and it was me, a wizard, like a regular wizard, and then one like rogue. and we were all new. I was like level 30 and they were all like level 25. And he was the only max level character. And he was like, "Hey, you want to join my guild?" So we joined his guild. And then all he did was he would teleport us to boss dungeons and do exactly that, just boss raid. But we would all stand behind him and just follow behind him in his path while he just murders everyone and we get the experience. And I think everyone else would die, but because I was the cleric, I would be the farthest one hanging back, just healing, just healing the other two, rogue and the wizard, because they would die instantly.
I have to laugh at
Yeah,
Tem here. Upper Blackrock Spire trained many people.
mm,
Yes, it did. He
yes.
boosted you guys hard. Yes, he
Oh,
did.
definitely.
Not just
Yeah.
Upper Blackrock. My favorite, which I used to run all the time for fun with the guild, was Karazhan. I love that one. That was Medivh's place. It was really cool because it was like vastly different everywhere you went. Like
Yeah.
basically, you're storming a wizard's castle, for lack of a better term.
Hmm.
I look forward to seeing what we're going to get in Deadhaus, because here's the twist: we're the dead this time. So we're not storming some undead crypt or some tombs and all. The dead
People are
have
storming us.
we have been emptied from the crypts and are going for the castles and everywhere else, which will be really, really fun. I look forward to that. Judging by Dennis's past work, I think there would be something. I think you could. That's quite possible, Tem. I do believe Karazhan could be recreated in Deadhouse.
I would like to see, but at the same time I wouldn't, because it's just something I dislike in games, is
Hmm.
guild raids. I would like to see, and by that I mean like the opposite. Like we the guild are getting raided by another guild.
Oh, so
Um
like
a
if
la
you
like
have your
Conan
guild,
Exiles,
you
if you've
have your
ever played
guild
that.
hall,
Yep.
but other groups could come into your
And
guild
invade
hall
it.
like a dungeon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they raid and you're the mini bosses and NPCs. That's really
Hmm.
interesting. I
Yeah.
like this concept. I don't know how it would work mechanically, but that sounds
I
awesome.
don't know how it would work mechanically either. The only thing that I've seen recently that I can recall anyway, that's not a 20-year-old game or anything, is in Conan Exiles they have that feature. They have
Hmm.
two features. One of them is if you're inactive for too long and you're just roaming around building your base and not doing anything, but you're online, um, then there is a predetermined random generator called the Horde, or like the Undead or something, and it's a giant sandstorm of death, and it's a bunch of undead warriors and big monsters and gods, and they all just come and stomp your base because they see that you've been inactive and you haven't really been doing anything. You're just kind of there, so they come in to make you active and to do more things than
So
just
they
staying in
harsh
one
your mellow.
place.
So if
And
you
yeah,
just
they
want to
do.
chill out, they come to
Yeah, they
harsh your
do. They
mellow.
do. But you choose this if you want to go online. You have an option to pick it. The other thing is that because it's a base building simulator and you essentially build dungeons, or just little homesteads, people can go in and raid you, and they have their party of thralls that they build, or undead that they summon, or anything like that. Especially with the magic update, a lot of necromancy and stuff has come into the fold, and they can summon gods to destroy your base, and they essentially just raid your little dungeon that you built, or your little house that you built. And it's a PvP thing, but it's all by choice. You can tick a little box that says if you want this to happen.
I've seen this frequently. That like we're all familiar with Warframe, yeah? Are you familiar with the dojos in Warframe?
A little bit. I really should jump back
So
on
the
Warframe.
dojo in Warframe is basically your guild hall, your clan hall. It's
Yeah.
like a little space station, and you can expand it. And if you see some of the people, like they show them on the Warframe live stream sometimes, where like they'll showcase people's dojos. They're absolutely massive, and they've created incredible
Yeah, I've
labyrinthian
seen
type
some of
stuff.
them. Some of them are really
So
pretty.
if you had something like that in Deadhouse, you could theoretically have people come in to
Mhm.
raid it if it's a guild thing. So I could see that happen. But Old Manuru brings up a very interesting point. It would only work mechanically if there's no downside for the defenders if they lose. Yes, I completely agree. I think the only downside shouldn't be an actual downside. It should be maybe like an irrelevant score, or maybe lore like
Yeah,
tied to it. Your characters in your guild lose nothing tangible.
yeah,
That
because
it's
you are
only
dead, essentially.
some type of lore thing or something. But I think that will be coming along in the further ages, because we won't have PvP from day one. because it will
Mhm.
only be Deadhouse. It'll be when other houses start coming along that will get PvP.
Yeah.
Although I
I
still
do
would like
think
to see some type of little, even if there's no proper PvP, some minor PvP, some one-on-one
Mhm.
battle arena stuff would be
Yeah,
really interesting.
that'd be cool. Um, I do think for the hardcore mode, for the you once you die, it's over and you have to start over again, it wipes everything. Definitely make a guild rating hardcore mode where if you lose, you lose. Have a little bit lore bit, and they were destroyed and wiped from the face of the earth.
So
And
you're
but it
saying we
has to
create.
be a thing that is your choice. Like you have to actively want to put up or tick a box that's like I want to be able to get rated and to defend because then you know what you're going up against and you know what you have to do to prepare and other people know have to do what they to prepare and it's this whole by choice hardcore mode. If one team loses, they're wiped. And if
So
you
you're
lose, you're
telling
wiped.
me we need to start a hardcore raiding guild called YOLO, and
Yes,
the
that's exactly
members
it.
get to join, but you can have an infinite number of characters because even in training and
Yeah.
leveling up, you're probably going to get killed, and that's that character
Yes.
gone. So,
Yes. I think maybe level cap it. Maybe level cap it where it's like uh a high level to be able to like raid and or at least reach a certain level before you can do this because then you have enough experience, you play Deadhouse enough to understand how the mechanics work and the systems work, and then you can really start micromanaging your builds. And
we're gonna
I know.
alter it though. We're gonna alter it. Calypso, he says that'd be sick. I would create a whole
Yes.
league of hardcore guild lunatics. Yes, only
Yes.
not YOLO, Yodo.
Yes,
You
I was about
only
to say you
die
only die
once.
once. Yeah. Yeah, and I think and then that's all this also could maybe throw a bonus in there, like, if you, have, like, a heritage system, sort of. I think Dennis is already actively doing this, if I can't recall, or the bloodline system where it's like, you start this guild in, like, this hardcore death guild in, like, age 1 or something, and you keep dying and dying and dying, and instead of it just, you know, getting like, it's a new character that you have to create once you lose because everything is
Yeah.
wiped. So, but just have that tie into there and maybe have a bonus like a 5% buff of defense or like more vitality or something so you can
Hmm.
keep surviving. But the only thing is like people will abuse this eventually to where if like so have it cap off at a certain point, like
I do
to
believe,
where
yeah,
it
no, this
stops being a
I'm
bonus.
putting the gauntlet down now. Yes, we are going to create that guild, and anyone that watches us or wants to join us in the channel is welcome to join. And we will see how that goes. I'm still creating my own guild on the regular servers, but
Hmm.
there will be, I will mark that down. You can mark my words. Me and Calypso will lead the
Yep.
flag charge. Not saying we're going to be any good, but we will lead
Yep.
the flag
Yeah.
on the hardcore guild. And then once you sign up, we find out who you are. That way, when you die, you can create a new character and sign up again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we will run that. There were one life tournaments in vanilla World of Warcraft. I heard about that. Oh wow, heroes never die. Deadhouse, you have already to be dead to become a hero, bro. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
I would like to see for this expanding upon this just for a little second. I would love to see importing of characters. So, by your choice, by the player's choice, you build up a character in the regular non-dying hardcore server that you have to actively choose to lose this character if you want going to the hardcore server to join this death guild of just raiding and
Hmm.
everything like that, and then
Hmm.
have there be a special legacy bonus of and he chose or they chose that day to uh join like this death cult or death guild or whatever, and they would be they were legendary heroes or some little lore bit that's cool, or a little a little active bonus that maybe lasts for a couple of days,
I like
by
this
taking your
idea.
regular character that you build up and then joining the death cult server of hardcore raiding mode.
I like that idea, but this is going to yield a few results, right? So, number one, you know that anyone in the guild with any significant level is good, because the bad people
Mhm.
just won't be in the guild for long. They'll be dead, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we are only the best of the best. You don't need to worry, punk. Only the best of the best. You will be there, and the bad ones will die,
Yeah.
and well, permanently, permadeath. The other side is this gives a whole new meaning and purpose to speed running and power leveling.
Yes, yes, and this is even better. This makes it even better because Dennis is so opposed to like min maxing your characters
Yeah.
and having the best alchemy build or whatever build. You can't rely on that. So it's purely skill based,
Yeah.
thinking about it and like micromanaging your how you really want this to go out. How you have to meticulously plan, like building a Dungeons and Dragons character and everything,
Yes.
minus the min maxing part. So you really have to think about this. I've been reading the Malazan series. I'm still on the first book. It's a really long book. But there's so many little details within
Hmm.
this series that actively flesh out these characters and like how they work as people, but as well as like RPG characters. I swear the Malazan series was an RPG that these two guys cooked up in
I
their
was
head and
going
then
to
just turned it
say,
into a
now
novel.
I have a colleague that told me, now I don't know how accurate this is, but this is what I've been told, that the Malazan Book of the Fallen series is actually based on like a 20-year-old D&D campaign or something that the
Yeah, I
guys
think it
had,
is.
and he wrote the stories into a book, which
Yeah.
leads me to the question, would it be really cool if someone done that with Deadhaus?
Oh, it'll happen,
And wrote
man.
about not just the story of the game, like that's going to be the background setting, but basically the adventure of their character and the
Mhm.
characters they interact with and all. Because you will get that immersion playing. Because I really like,
Yeah.
some people took it a little too far, but I did really enjoy in World of Warcraft people that RP'd in the guilds. You know, when people actually were their character. I did kind of like that.
Mhm.
Some people took it a little too far, but
Yeah. Oh no,
it was
there'll
fun.
definitely be RP. There's totally gonna be RP guilds in Deadhouse. I can I can already see it now. I am Kane the vampire on
I
this
am
RP
Kane
guild. Like,
247.
yeah, exactly. I can see it now. But no, that's gonna be a factor for sure. And because of the community aspect and the community driven stuff with stories and the way and writing and everything goes and the world building with the world anvil and stuff, I can totally see people writing their stories of their characters onto that. Would it be cool? Yeah. Heck, that is yes territory right there. Yes, it is.
Ah, yes.
Watch out for these RP people. There are digital escort. Yes, yes.
Yeah, we'll venture away from that. The dead have no need of such things. I hope.
No, no.
I hope.
Hopefully not.
Certain words we're not going to say on YouTube
Yes.
here.
And oh yeah, and I like the little name that you have for it, the Mausoleum. I think
Hmm.
that's a good name because I mean graveyard, you have your own little custom
Ooh,
thing that people
is
can
that
join
what we'll
into.
call the hardcore guild? The
The
mausoleum.
the Mausoleum. Oh, I mean the graveyard would be cool, but the Mausoleum is a better sounding
The
name.
mausoleum, because it's a collection of the best of the best of the dead.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Yodo, you only die once.
You only die. That's the tagline. What's the guild's logo? Your motto. You only die once.
Yeah,
We are
yeah.
the exception.
Um,
Permadeath comes for us all.
yeah.
The meat
Yeah.
grinder is properly more fitting. Possibly.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one too.
Meat
Um,
grinder. I thought that's going to be the nickname of like the White or the Revenant is going to
yeah,
meat
yeah, yeah,
grinder.
totally. Because he's got the Revenant has the giant hammer, the meat pie.
Oh, yeah. No, wait. Oh, we've got more. This one time in Death Camp.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Oh, there's
Um,
so much
oh, meat
fun to
grinder.
be
Yeah,
had with
yeah.
this.
Yeah, it just goes
But
on. It
yeah,
goes
of
on
course.
forever.
Welcome to Death Camp. No, that means something different.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, woo,
We're
stay
gonna
away from
steer
that
away
one.
from that. Um,
Woo, hard left on that one. But yeah, I can see as we will not only have that, but I'm fairly sure it's safe to assume that we'll end up having a Deadhouse Whispers social guild
oh, of
on the
course.
normal servers that everyone's welcome to join.
Mhm.
Which begs the question, we need to pitch that to Dennis. You should have the option to be in multiple guilds for social purposes.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there would be a limit on it, but I do think that should be an option.
Yeah, I think well, I think this sort of merges into your crypt that you'll be able to like customize eventually at some
Hmm.
point. I know Dennis has talked about that. Um and so it's like I'm pretty sure that falls into it too, the whole social aspect. And I think it
Yeah.
would be cool. I think it would be cool if you, the player, have your own personal crypt, but there's a community crypt that people can go specifically
Like a
to.
mausoleum?
Yeah, like a mausoleum that people can specifically go to,
It's
and
the
it's
community.
a community building of this crypt. So
Yeah.
anybody can
Guild housing.
customize it.
Of course, there
Yeah,
has to
guild
be guild
housing.
housing.
Yeah. That's what it is. That's what
For
I'm
the
thinking.
derogatory term, guild housing. Guild house, yes.
Yes,
Although
guild.
we
Ah,
need to
there it
come
is
up with
again.
something because, like, we need to come up with another word for what these would be called because, like, guild is not appropriate for the dead. Guilds
Yeah.
are for the living, artisanal craft. The dead would be
Well, I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's a word out there that is like a plethora or a mass number of undead or dead bodies in like a cemetery. I don't
I
know what
need
it
to
is
now.
though.
I need to ask. I need to ask. Tell me more about Tiffany's Bunny Guard.
Tiffany's.
I
All
need
right.
to know.
Yes.
I need to know this now. Is that
Um,
revelers or the revilers?
I think it's Revilers, which is it's a pretty cool name for a band. And
A
the Death
mass grave.
Machine, wasn't that? Did I read that right? The Death Machine? Yeah,
Yes,
the Death Machine is awesome. That's a
a
cool name.
Tiffany's Bunny Guard. Well, I
Tiffany's
mean,
Bunny
look,
Guard is
you see, maybe the bunny needs guarding. That's why there's a whole platoon of people.
that.
Like, don't forget what Mr. Blaskowitz, Doom guy, did
Yeah,
over his bunny.
exactly. Yeah. Just slaughtered like
Some
the
bunnies need to
entirety of
get.
hell.
It could have saved the entire population of Hell and the planet of Mars and the moon of Deimos if that bunny was kept
Mm.
alive. Well, if Shakespeare taught us anything, is that we can just make up our word for it. Yes, 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 yes.
All right. Don't Wikipedia mass grave names because just a bunch of
No,
terrible stuff will come up. So
no, no, no. You need to be
yeah.
careful. You see, you want to look at the D&D section of the internet because the real life section of the internet, when you Google those things, is bad.
Yes, it was really I just depressed me out really quickly.
I was in a
Um,
clan for a first-person shooter called the Emerald Knights.
oh, that's a cool name. I mean, you know
That's
what another
definitely
cool
some
name
Irish
is
stuff
for a
right there.
guild? Cool
But
name for a guild could be the Crimson Cult. Mm.
I'm fairly certain that might be lore indicative after the last radio play. Oh,
Yeah.
come on. How can you not have fun with this? How is there not going to be a guild called Rigor Mortis?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a good one too.
You know the names are going to be awesome. Along with,
The
led
the
by Kane
Boneyard.
237 and Alucard 666,
All
Uh,
right, I found a good thing. Synonyms for a graveyard: cemetery, churchyard, boneyard, necropolis, tomb, mausoleum, memorial park, catacombs, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Oh, God's Acre is a pretty cool name. I don't know what that's from. Crypt, grave, sepulchre, vault, sepulcher, two different spellings. Sepultura. Oh, really? That's where they got that name from? Okay.
oh, you didn't
Didn't know
know?
that. I did not know
Oh.
that. Great band though. Anyways, a boneyard or the boneyard was a cool name as well for like a
We're
community thing.
deviating almost into
We
terms of
are.
service territory there, though.
Sorry, guys. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Whoops.
Need to be careful.
Oh, you saw.
The
Oh, yeah, they're a great band.
saw them this year. Awesome. The the
Pyramid of
pyramided inhabitants.
Inhabitants. The pyramid of inhabitants. I like that.
We
Anyway,
will get some really interesting ones.
yeah. definitely.
The Sepulchre of Bone.
Hmm.
That's a band name right there.
Yeah.
Just think of like an awesome death metal band name, and that's probably your Deadhaus guild.
We live in a triangle, a Bermuda Triangle. No. Hmm.
There's definitely a joke here between the triangles, meat pie, and pie. As in
3.14567798.
Like I
A
still love with the
gathering.
whole a gathering of patrician grunt users of fun.
Yeah, yeah, but yes. So that's guilds. Um, what would you, the community, like to see for like guild builds, like specific guild builds? And
What do you
this
call a kill? No more sucker jokes for the vampires, please. What would a guild of like all ghouls be? I'm trying to be careful because if I say certain things, I already know what the jokes are in my own head
Yeah,
based on
I'm trying to think of that
certain
too.
certain things with Sundowner and the Great Meme War of
Mhm.
2020. You
Ah,
know,
yeah. I mean, so a guild of ghouls.
it's definitely some joke about all you can eat.
That I mean, or like dogs, like a dog joke, or the pack. I've always liked when video games call a group of like you know just ravenous monsters or demon things the pack. It's so simple and
You know
kind
what
of
our army
overdone at
is
this
called
point,
in
but like
Deadhaus,
the
don't
pack.
you? You know what our
What's
army is called in Deadhaus, don't you?
what
It's
is
in the
it?
Necro.
A feast
Do you know
of
what it's called?
ghouls. Well, a feast of oh, that already got
Unlike
me. A
this,
feast of ghouls. I do not. What is it called? At least I can't
Lord
recall anymore.
Zoran is Lord Marshal of the Shambling Horde.
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. The shambling horde. That's
So
a
us
cool name.
collectively are the Shambling
Shambling
Horde.
horde. That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
Which means I get to crack out my, for the horde stuff again.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm.
I always thought that was way too good a battle cry. And again, not for World of Warcraft. They took it. It was a cool one, but they took it. Don't forget, this comes from Temujin's name there. Our great Khan,
That's
Genghis Khan. He led the horde.
Oh, he did.
That's where it's for
That's
the
right.
horde.
He did.
I want a guild building starting from an open grave down into a gigantic maze that can be completed. Guild members can teleport straight to the hub area. Guests, intruders have to find their way there. Do you know something, Tem? That is not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
That sounds like something that could actually be done.
Guild members can teleport straight. What is it? Guild members can
Oh, wait,
teleport
I'll pull it
straight.
back up here. I
Yeah,
want a
guild
guild
members
building starting from an open grave. So just an
grave.
open
Yeah.
grave into a gigantic maze that can be completed. So guild members will be able to teleport straight to the hub area of the guild thing, but guests or
Yeah.
intruders would have to navigate their way through.
That's cool. That could that ties back into the PvP sort of aspect later on down the road. And just imagine this, and this is a whole community thing that just amps up. I can already see the possibilities in that you have your guild or whatever that you do with the rating or everything. And
Mhm.
because there is a community and there might be, a map making feature later on down the line, imagine if it were a custom map made raiding area or a battle area that people could jump into, and it made a little easier with the procedural generation of a level, so it's not super handcrafted if you don't have the time or if people don't have the time to do it, but you could custom make your own raiding areas, or if they have been
You're a
named by
really
the
cool idea.
living. That's where the name comes from. An awful
An
of
awful,
oh, an
an
awful,
awful of ghouls.
an awful lot of them. um, but no, that'd be awesome. I dig that. I totally dig that idea by Tim. Um, and it
I
adds to
like
the
these
whole
ideas.
factor. Yeah.
I'm liking the community suggestions. Don't forget, everyone. always make sure these get put into the Deadhouse Discord also. I will make sure that Dennis takes a watch of this. I have a feeling he watches them anyway. Hi, Dennis. Hi, George, because I know
Hi,
George is going to be
everyone.
checking this out. We need to
Yes.
get you on soon. You're going to come join us
Yeah.
soon. And get some of the rest of them on, because I don't know if you all know some of the people who've been voicing the radio plays. Shout out to the guys, but oh dang, they's funny. I have them on our Instagram. I will link them below this. They're fun. I also think it'd be cool to be able to decide in the beginning to build up or down. Oh, that's interesting.
Ooh. Yeah.
They're very interesting thoughts. I like this.
Vertical buildings hasn't been now imagine vertical level design going up. How cool would that be? And you could make it, and because it's like a custom thing, if it were a custom level built by people or a person, you could, you could kind of make it like a combat challenge thing where you keep climbing the tower and it just gets harder and harder and harder. And then at the top is, the player and you have to fight each other, and it's a PvP thing. That'd be neat. That's also why I said I wanted to start it from an open grave so people could totally miss the guild building and they're invading another building. Yeah, I get that. But I mean, if you imagine a giant tower off in the distance, you have to go there.
No, but like you're wandering through, there's a graveyard in the forest, you think nothing of it, because a little mausoleum, you look over, there's nothing in the mausoleum and all like that, you walk past, but little did you know the 7th grave from the left was open, and that was where you went in. Easy to miss. Think about Lovecraft the Outsider, where the castle is weirdly underground. That's one thing. But then there's the Dwarf Way, where the tomb just goes on and on downward. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Outsider's a great story, by the way. Awesome. Well, way to go for bringing up the Lovecraft. Yeah. Yeah, that just tickled my fancy. I love me some Lovecraft. And I think, now imagine, because to
rebuild Mines of Moria. Yes.
Oh yeah. That's a great one too. Rebuild Mines of Moria. Now imagine all the stuff. I am waiting for, apart from all the Blood Omen references in Deadhaus, I'm waiting for people to just reconstruct Blood Omen in Deadhaus and like make.
How long before we get into Raptor's Retreat?
Exactly. I'm about to say, making the Raptor's Retreat in Deadhaus and obviously expand it and make it bigger and like next gen the Raptor's Retreat.
You take a look at your background though, Calypso. I could see the Raptor's Retreat on a hilltop behind that.
Yes, imagine like walking through this area. You go into a bar, there's an inn, and then off in the distance, a giant skull tower is just looming over you.
The ship.
The Omen ship in Deadhaus. Oh yeah, the HMS Bitter, whatever it was. Yeah, I can see that as an area too, and
Judging
it would be dangerous for vampires to go to.
Judging how angry people got at it, you'll just see it shipwrecked across the shore.
I wouldn't be surprised if Dennis put that in there as just a crashed ship on the rocks on this, like you're strolling the beach, you see just a shipwrecked ship, and like you see the plank heading of it or whatever's on the buried in the sand HMS Bitter. I think that'd be the coolest thing. That'd be sweet. That'd be a sweet reference. But yeah, with all that, I think that's a good note to wrap up on. Everybody, thank you for all your suggestions and your wonderful ideas. And don't forget to check out all of this if this sounded interesting to you at deadhaussonata.com. That's dead, Haus, sonata.com. You can follow me, Calypso, on Twitter at Necrolibriatus, as well as Instagram at Necrolibriatus. And of course, you can follow Faceless Mike at The Faceless Mike on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch at The Faceless Mike as well. Also for Deadhaus Sonata, don't forget to follow them on Twitter at Deadhaus Game, on Instagram at Deadhaus Game. All of the there's a Reddit. There's also Deadhaus Sonata Reddit, so jump on the Reddit. And of course, everything with on the website, the deadhaussonata.com, is where basically all the links are that you can find all this other social media stuff. If you don't want to go directly to the social medias, just go on the website, deadhaussonata.com, and they are there. And what's the
Don't
other
forget to
Twitters
follow
we have?
us.
Yes, don't forget to follow us. Oh yes, that's right. I keep forgetting. Don't forget to follow us, Deadhouse Whispers. We are on Twitter at Deadhouse Whispers, on Instagram at Deadhouse Whispers, on YouTube at Deadhouse Whispers with the little ad thing they have now.
Yeah. And if you're
So,
listening to
yes.
this later on Spotify or any audio platform that we happen to be on, don't forget to give us a like and a share and all like that, because
Mhm.
all of that stuff really helps. If you're watching this later on YouTube and you enjoyed, give us a like, give a little comment. Any engagement is good engagement, so we want to see more of that, because you will
Yep.
be really helping us out. I know a lot of people say that, but trust me, when you look at the back end statistics, it really does help us.
Yes. They say like it help us feed the algorithm.
Feed the
You
algorithm
know?
like you are feeding it your soul.
Yes, it's like liking a video and commenting a video helps. It helps. So if you
Yes.
do enjoy this, please like, comment, the whole shebang, and we will see you all in the next one. Bye,
See ya.
everyone.